Hey guys, Kickassreaction here. Our friend, our shark, the boy is here.
Yes, sir.
And today, we are here to do episode 3 of Danganronpa 0. We're starting off on quite a face.
Yes, where we left off with Ryoko running away from Madurai, and yeah, we'll have to see where that goes. Should be interesting.
We've got our serpent against our ultimate kind of analytical, possibly potato. I can't quite tell if those are supposed to be like numbers, gibberish, or Japanese words.
It might be like equations, but it looks like it's in Japanese.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So, pretty cool. We had our first ever fight scene of the franchise in the previous part, like a genuine shonen battle.
The closest thing we had to that was Sakura and Monokuma, and that wasn't really much.
Yeah, and we had our battle between Madurai and Mukuro / possibly Junko.
A despair sister, whichever one it was.
Yeah, one of the despairs, which was pretty fun. And now we're at a point to where there is a missing body, we don't know where it is, cue the Ace Attorney music, and we are running for our lives against the serpent.
See, it's funny, I feel like the Ace Attorney music or Danganronpa music works, to be fair. I mean, they are pretty similar, in at least in that regard.
Yeah, it's not coming to me right now what the Danganronpa theme is for a body discovery. I'm just thinking of the stuff that Ace Attorney got going on.
Yeah, the pursuit themes and stuff, yeah. Dude, both of these series have great music. I feel like the Ace Attorney music's more iconic, but...
Well, of course, it's been around a lot longer.
Sure, but I mean, even...
And
it's a lot... In the West, it's not that much of a gap. It's only like 5 years.
But to be fair, Ace Attorney's far more memeable than Danganronpa, so, you know.
Danganronpa's pretty memeable, but yes, Ace Attorney's like legendary when it comes to meme.
Not on that tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hell, probably, like, these side stories probably have a lot of meme material as well that the fans just don't know about.
Sure.
This guy's face is pretty good.
Yeah. The tongue is wild.
Also notice he has pink glowing eyes.
Yeah, it's an interesting color. It's a very cool color for like anime game like design.
How interesting!
It really pops.
Even the fire is pink in this universe.
But it's also interesting because there's like blue blood splatter here, so there's like a lot of very artistic stuff here. Interesting use of color in this art.
But yeah.
Especially because he's, like, grayed out, besides the eyes.
That might just be his skin.
He is, I think, very, very pale, to be fair.
Yeah, I think they said his skin was sickly pale.
Because, yeah, like, Ryoko is pale, but but they are actually emphasizing the color compared to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we are on chapter 7, I believe.
Yes, we did 1 to 2, and then we did 3 to 6, if I'm correct. Which I believe is exactly... So far, I think we're on the exact same pace as my solo read of DR0.
Yeah.
So, that's working out. We're about halfway through the first volume, and about a quarter of the way through the overall novel.
Hell yes, sunshine. Let's do it. I'm ready to see what becomes of these characters. Still hoping we get at least some cameos from a couple of others.
We got a long way to go still.
Especially a fashionista.
It does look like, with the exception of maybe like Junko, Mukuro, and stuff, it looks like for the most part this is going to focus on original characters, but based on what we've seen so far. But we'll have to see. There's definitely ways that they could loop some people in if they want to.
Yeah.
Ready to go?
I am ready to go.
Let's begin with Chapter 7.
I don't get that go at all.
Ishiki Madurai muttered to himself as he gave chase. It wasn't that he hadn't been cautious, quite the opposite actually, but it hadn't crossed his mind even once that she might run away. In hindsight, he realized that what she did was only natural. A cornered
I
mouse...
do realize my voice was very inappropriate last time. I didn't get a good look at the fucker before I voiced him, so voices change.
Yep, they evolve. A cornered mouse will bite the cat, or so the proverb goes. But in reality, it's very rare to find a mouse who would bite a cat. Even if it were seriously injured or dying, a cornered mouse wouldn't stay still. No. And its only thought would still be to try and escape. That's just the mouse's true nature. And the girl who turned heel and ran is just the same. In other words, it's in her nature to run away at a time like this. I don't know, she did a lot of theatrics before she ran away, but that was pretty amusing. But anyways.
Graciously ran away. In that case, all I have to do is catch her. And this will all be over.
His mouth twisted in a cruel smile. Madurai's face was that of a hunter chasing his prey. But his goal wasn't simple, relentless predation.
After I catch her, I'll beat everything she knows about the incident out of her.
Wild. The tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Madurai hated that incident and everyone involved in it with a fiery passion. Getting revenge for the tragedy, interesting, was the only thing driving him anymore, and finally the chance to do so was within reach. A few hours earlier, he had received an anonymous message with a simple explanation. Junko and Oshima, who knows the secrets behind the incident, will be in the Central Plaza tonight.
Interesting.
So I'd have to...
So we've got a leak.
See, it's funny, though, because my mind, the first thing I think of is this anonymous message was sent by Junko.
Possibly?
Because it feels like it... And see, I think the thing that's thrown Junko off is where the fuck did the body go? Which I don't think had anything to do with her plan. But I feel like this Madurai guy showing up, it to me comes off... It's all trying to groom... it's all trying to groom Ryoko into whatever the fuck.
It's kind of hard to do that, though, when she just doesn't remember it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, she's trying to fuck with Ryoko.
Yeah.
Seemingly, like, either make her remember her talent, but also whatever else. Like, I feel like that's the most likely outcome here. Like, Mukuro, Junko... They're one and the same in this as it pertains to, like, the details, right? You know what I mean when I say Junko sent the message. It realistically could be either one, but it's at Junko's will, I guess is the best way to put it. But that's the thing. We've also... Yeah. It doesn't seem like this guy's a despair, but I've even floated out that idea that who knows how much of this could be bullshit. The possibility of it
we're still not entirely sure of Junko's involvement with the tragedy.
We don't know what's going on. This is the simple bit of it, which is why, there's things to discuss.
I'm still kind of inclined that Junko didn't know, because, again, like, she didn't really lie about anything in DR1, but the interesting fact is that she said she didn't even know what happened in that bloody room in the school, and that she just kind of left it there, because why not?
Which would line up, potentially, if that was the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy, and she's going to use that incident to further her own ambitions. That would all line up with DR1.
Yeah.
And what we do know. The possibility of it being a trap had crossed his mind, but it was a risk he was fine taking. Even if it had been a trap, it would have been an opportunity to see who set it up. I will have... Oh, well, I guess you can read this. This is mental, but it's Ishiki mental.
I will avenge them. I still have to protect someone, so I will avenge them all.
Alright, we got an Avenger. There was a flame burning within his eyes. The moment he caught sight of his prey ahead of him, his speed increased.
More like a Punisher.
That works too. Increased dramatically. His long hair whipped behind him as he closed the distance between them. In no time at all, he would be able to reach out his arms and catch her.
It's over!
He pushed his left foot strongly into the ground and stretched his long right arm as far out as it would reach. He could feel strands of his prey, his hair, brush against his fingers for just a moment, and then The prey suddenly changed direction with a sharp and unexpected turn, causing him to lose his balance. She had timed her move perfectly, almost as if she had planned it all ahead. Madurai clicked his long red tongue loudly, corrected his stance, and gave chase once more. However, he noticed something strange in how the girl before him was running.
What the?
As his prey was running, she was writing furiously in her notebook.
Huh? Writing while running? It's clearly impossible, however you look at it.
Madurai was bewildered. He couldn't make sense of her strange behavior in the least. The thought that his target would be doing anything else at this point other than just fleeing was beyond unexpected.
Isn't she just a mouse running away from danger? Could she actually have a plan beyond escaping? Bro, just grab her hair.
Well, he almost did. But he also thought it could also be a bluff, just like when she first ran away. She could be taking advantage of his caution and vigilance in order to widen the gap between them. It didn't matter. Whatever the reason, there was no time for hesitation. His desire to avenge those who died in the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy was too intense for him to give up now. He recklessly increased his speed and was soon within reach of his prey once again.
This time it really is the end.
He reached his right hand towards his prey's blind spot and grabbed her. No. Again. All he grabbed was empty air. Once more, with timing that seemed precisely calculated, his prey suddenly and sharply changed course. Still caught in his own forward momentum, Madurai thrust his arms in front of himself in a panic as a huge tree emerged from the darkness ahead. The palms of his hands were soon met with the coarse bark of the tree as he cursed beneath his breath.
What the hell is going on?
Madurai kicked off the ground in anger and was soon pursuing at full speed once again. His prey slowly came within reach, and as he reached out, she managed to dodge the hand and escape again.
I can't catch her?
Even as that realization slowly dawned on Madurai, he couldn't explain it. She wasn't even turning her head to look at him. Her eyes were constantly on her notebook. How was she able to avoid his hands reaching at her from behind? She wasn't even avoiding him clumsily. She did it with perfect timing every time.
She's not even the ultimate soldier to make such precise turns and movements while not even looking.
She shouldn't have had any idea of his movement. No, it wasn't even something that simple. She shouldn't have had the skills capable to see everything behind her.
It's like she knows what's going to happen in advance. You've got to be kidding me.
Madurai shook off the thought from his head and accelerated to full speed again. Soon he was at his prey's defenseless back, reaching out toward the blind spot once again. The moment he was about to grab her, just as expected, the prey dodged his hand and escaped. This time, however, Madurai anticipated it and turned his body sideways to match her movement. He extended both of his long arms and lunged toward his prey in a full tackle.
This time you're mine!
Or so he thought.
What?
It was as if she even knew he was going to anticipate her dodge. She crouched again with perfect timing and stayed low to the ground like a turtle. Yeah?
She has to be an analyst of some kind to calculate every variable, every
This bitch
possibility
is
he would use.
I mean, they've already implied that she's broken in some regard.
This is insane.
This is crazy. Because this guy's like really capable, because he was going head-to-head with either the Ultimate Soldier or Junko, who probably is also a beast.
What is she, the ultimate speedster?
It stayed low to the ground like a turtle, causing Madurai to clumsily twist his body forward as he lunged and crash violently onto the ground. He lay on the lawn for a short while, unable to move. He wasn't in pain necessarily, but a different kind of damage had been inflicted upon him.
What the hell?
That would be wild. At long last, he got back on his feet. He shook his long hair from his eyes and searched for his target. There she was, the silhouette of her figure running far away, already small in the distance. As he watched his escaping prey, Madurai whispered to himself in an incredulous tone.
For God's sake, Please don't tell me she has precognition.
I don't think so.
And that's the whole chapter.
That was the whole chapter? So
But,
that's probably because we're changing perspective now, presumably to Ryoko. So yeah, that was chapter 7. Anything to say?
Be more like this girl, ladies.
She's kind of beasting now all of a sudden.
Yeah, run.
She's kind of winning a fight just by running, almost damn near.
And she's barely even acknowledging it's a race.
That's crazy.
That's some scary feat right there. This girl has it's like Sayaka's intuition like pumped up 10,000. She an Esper?
I mean, I think you're on the right track with the analyst thing. I just think her analysis is so freakily good that it comes off as like she's like literally seeing the future.
It's like some Tony Stark level shit.
Very very broken. But anyways, yeah, you ready to continue on to chapter 8?
I believe so.
Not much to say. That was pretty simple. Anyways, chapter 8. Precognition. That's probably what he was thinking. But no such thing exists, of course. It did in dreams, maybe. But no matter how much you ask for something like that in real life, you're not going to just awaken psychic powers in some critical moment. That kind of thing only happens in comic books.
And
so
anime.
It's not... Yeah. Well, I mean, comic books, manga, whatever. They're both, in a sense, comic books. So it's not anything as outrageous as precognition, really. They're just predictions. I quickly analyzed his thoughts, actions, and movements. That's what my notebook taught me my talent was, after all. The ultimate analyst. And there it is.
Hey! I got it right!
Let's go!
The ultimate analyst.
This is a crazy power in practice. It's cool in concept, but this is a very interesting way to show it off. Because obviously this in most scenarios would apply to things much different than like a chase scene. But obviously this is a very broad talent that could be used in many different ways.
The implications are kind of horrifying.
Yeah, like, this is, like, honestly, thinking about the talents we've been introduced to so far, this might be the craziest one, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, I don't know if Matsura should be relieved or absolutely terrified.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We know Matsuda knows the talent, and we know that he doesn't like it when she uses it on him.
I wonder in what manner she's using it on him.
So that's the thing. At some point, she's used it on him. So we know that at some point, she's been aware of her talent while interacting with Matsuda, which either means they've known each other for a long time, or there's been other times where she's found this part of her notebook and actually remembered.
Yeah.
Anyways, with that ability, I was able to analyze Madurai's behavioral patterns and his overall way of thinking, in like seconds, by the way. From there, I just predicted the moves he would take next. That's all. But
yep, that's all.
Even so, that kind of statistical analysis requires a vast amount of data. Without data, I can't predict anything at all. But that's exactly what Ryoko Tanashi's memory notebook is for. I've been extracting patterns from his speech and actions, and have been exhaustively writing them down as usable data in my notebook. The battle between Madurai and Enoshima was a particularly important source of data. She attacked Madurai using a variety of techniques, and possibly even let herself get hit on purpose. Interesting. That would lean probably towards Mukuro if I had to get... But Junko's a masochist, so I can't... God damn it, I can't even rule that out either.
Well, we'll see.
I would say that leans more towards Mukuro, though. Now that I think about it, she was probably trying to show me as many of his attack patterns as she could. So that implies that Junkuro, presumably Junkuro at least, is fully aware of who Ryoko is. And did
I haven't doubted that.
Yeah, but did that specifically. Again, it's all about awakening Ryoko here. At least to her talent, potentially to more.
It's kind of the thing is that she's kind of just been... yeah, it's pretty much it. She's kind of just been doing nothing for however long this tragedy hit her.
It's crazy because I feel like the way that this story is building, it feels like this is gonna lead to like Ryuko essentially being like damn near on par with Junko in terms of like her responsibility for the tragedy, because like it just
Junko
feels like
had
this
a lot of shit.
Like obviously Junko, but yeah, but I'm sure a lot of the stuff, like it feels like a lot of what. There's a good chance that a lot of Junko's plan was built on Ryoko's calculations. If this is,
yeah,
that feels like that's where it's going. Because
like
it's like
I said, it was a very complex plan that she actually managed to pull off.
Yeah, and it's like Junko's obviously a genius, just in general. Like that's pretty clear, but it still feels like a stretch. Yeah,
this is an insane other level of it.
Yeah, very interesting. I love the idea, though, that we don't know. There's multiple ways they could go with the memory thing, but one of the potential ideas here is her talent is so memory exhaustive that her brain might have essentially kind of ate itself to some extent. And
damn, that's just, nothing happened to her. It's just that her own fucking brain messed her up.
She's so smart that it takes so much brain power that it, like, gave her brain damage or something, which is, like, really interesting as, like, a concept. Now, it could be that,
Jesus.
it could just be a coincidence, but I doubt that. I could also see a situation where someone did this to her because she's too dangerous.
She was given a problem that was so unquantifiable it broke her.
I'm not even thinking of anything that cute. I'm just thinking, like, someone, like, fucked with her head, like, more traditionally. Like,
What, the ultimate analyst couldn't calculate that would happen?
Who knows? Anyways, there's various possibilities that are very interesting there. I have no idea why someone like Enoshima would do something like that for me, but there's no doubt that's exactly why I was able to predict his behavior so perfectly. So because she's the ultimate analysis, she was able to analyze the fact that Junko, the Junko fighting Ishiki was fighting in a way to allow Ryuko to analyze his behavior and attack patterns.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But, like, she's also able to, because she's such a good analyst, she recognizes, not just does she analyze the attack patterns, she recognizes from Junko, Mukuro, Junko, whatever, I'm just gonna say Junko, that she was doing that on purpose. So she also immediately knows that something weird was going on from that perspective.
It was a rather large coincidence that it all happened at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. It does feel sus, to say the least. Even so, I couldn't possibly predict everything about him based on just a few minutes worth of data. It's just that my only goal at the time was to predict how he was going to behave in a chase scenario, and for that, I had more than enough data. Fair enough. That's how I knew the timing, angles, and techniques he was going to use to try and catch me. But my current prediction is that he isn't going to give up just yet. I'm sure he's a bit bewildered after seeing my talent in full swing like that.
Oh, yeah.
This is just another prediction, but I'm willing to bet that soon he'll realize that the source of my newfound power was my notebook. It's likely he's going to chase me much more seriously from now on. If that's the case, there's a limit to how long I can keep the same strategy. So, what should I do? I predict that the answer will probably come to me soon.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, this means nothing if you can't outpace him. If you don't have enough stamina to keep
And she's
to keep
obviously
going.
not as quick as him, so it's gotta, tricks have to be made here. I continue my mental predictions, relying on the crude map of the central plaza drawn in my notebook to guide my way. Soon, I passed the area overgrown with trees and came to a clearing. Just as expected, there was a small building there. That was my destination. The moment I saw it, fear and bravery began to intermingle inside my head. But I have no choice. I have to forget any fear and anxiety. I have to do it. I have to do it if I want to meet Matsuda. I have to do it. I'm sure I can do it. By the way, that wasn't a prediction just now. It was just a moment of enthusiastic optimism. Oh, the random meta breaks, too. Alright, that was Chapter 8. Another short one.
I think that's enough for this video.
Woo! Good job. We got 2 whole chapters. This was as long as the first video.
Hell yeah, that's our pace, man. 2 to 3 chapters each video. Pretty good
Let's
stuff.
Go. Let's go. But yeah, chapter 8. What'd you think?
Well, we got a pretty big piece of information right now. One of the biggest. It was, you know, it was. You can infer that pretty. Sure.
I don't
pretty
think they weren't really trying to hide that. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't really trying to hide that she was an analyst of some kind, and yeah. Now that that's out of here, well, I'm really curious what manner they're going to use that talent going forward.
Yeah.
Especially now that, you know, she has the constant reminder of it in the notebook.
Yeah. Definitely interesting stuff.
The idea is that she had some involvement in creating the whole killing game with Junko. At least help Junko out in the process of it. So
it makes too much sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm really curious.
So how we potentially get there.
If we go into the specifics of how that happened.
Or
in the end, we go into some of the complexities about what the process was for doing this.
I don't know. Danganronpa doesn't. I don't know if Danganronpa would want to give us that, but I definitely feel like if that is what happened, we got to see how she ends up with Junko at the very least. I don't know if it would go beyond that. And what happened to her? Yeah, like what? Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna figure out. Like I feel like we have to figure out like. Yeah, what's the deal with Junko? Why Ryoko? Like, what's the deal with Ryoko's memory issues? Like, there's certain things that I feel like this story has to give us.
See, now, this would have been a good character to have in Trigger Happy Havoc.
What, Ryoko?
Oh, yeah.
Well, she'd be broken as fuck.
How?
Like, you think fucking Kyoko's broken. She's one letter different than Kyoko, but... much more broken.
That's what I'm kind of wondering. Like, what if she analyzed the way to do a murder? Like, how would she fight against the ultimate detective?
She would either be a great murderer, murderer, or a great ally. Either way, very helpful.
She'd probably go for Kyoko.
I mean, we've kind of talked about. I mean, like Togami even kind of. It talked about how, like, yeah, Kyoko and Makoto are kind of the ones to watch out for, which kind of implied that he'd probably kill one of them.
Yeah, and that was another silly thing about Trick Happy Havoc, how no one ever at any point went for the smart characters, the ones that were completing all the trials single-handedly.
I think there's some degree of, like, fear of, like, they were going to be harder to manipulate and kill in the first place.
Maybe, but that's definitely a risk plus reward factor.
Togami is someone who would not... Togami would absolutely go for who he thinks are the smartest people. Yeah. I wouldn't even be surprised if Togami went for the Kyoko and Makoto double if he went for it.
That would be peak.
But yeah. Thankfully, Togami's goated in other ways as well. So I'm more than happy with the results as it pertains to him.
Of course. You do love your master.
Yes, sir.
Your one and only.
Anyways, chapter 9. You wanna give them a bone and keep going?
Sure, why not? Maybe one more.
Alright, chapter... yeah, honestly, maybe one more. Who knows how long this chapter is?
This could take 5 minutes or 5 hours.
Yeah, because I don't remember specifically, like, what chapters are super long, so who knows? This could be the last chapter if it's insanely long.
Yeah.
It's funny when it's not even necessarily a joke. I don't know. I feel like these chapters are going to be short for a while, because they're doing this thing where we're doing this chase scene and we keep flipping perspectives, which is kind of the chapter breaks.
Yeah.
Madurai had reached a conclusion. There was some kind of secret hiding in that notebook. Yes, that must be it. There's no such thing as precognition. Precognition? Ugh. She'd been insistently writing in that notebook of hers, despite the fact that terrible things would happen to her if she's caught, which meant her secret must be in there. Not that he could even fathom what it would be.
Which means I have to destroy that notebook no matter what. Uh-oh.
That would be wild. Madurai hadn't always been prone to complicated thoughts. He was often told that contrary to his looks, he was a cautious man. But it wasn't always like that. It was simply necessary for the responsibilities he held, which we have no knowledge of. But now those responsibilities had lost their meaning.
It was my fault. It was because I couldn't protect them.
So he feels responsible for what happened. The only job that mattered now was finding the culprit responsible for the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy and exacting revenge.
I can't afford to just stand around doing nothing. Not now.
Madurai began running again. From here, his goal was simple.
Catch my prey, hurt her, make her talk.
His resolve renewed once more, Madurai ran with all his strength in the direction his prey had fled. He may have lost some time, but it was not yet a fatal loss. Even if she managed to escape, all he had to do was keep chasing her. As long as he didn't give up, it wouldn't be over.
Catch, hurt, talk.
Madurai repeated those 3 words to himself, slithering through the dark trees and underbrush like a black snake. While paying careful attention to his surroundings as he ran, he spotted a small clearing of open space nearby. He surveyed the area, finding a small prefab shed on the opposite side of the clearing. Light from a street lamp nearby flickered continuously, creating an ominous atmosphere right out of a horror movie.
It's too suspicious to be suspicious. No, that's what makes it perfect. For someone to take refuge in.
He muttered to himself. Madurai reduced his speed and moved carefully toward the shed. Its cream-colored walls and roof would normally seem pleasant, calming even, but underneath the eerie, flickering light, they were almost sickening. He stood before it, peering through the window set in one of the walls to scan the interior. Swaths of dust were illuminated by the lamppost above, along with paint cans and bags of fertilizer that stocked the shelves. It must have been a storage shed for the central plaza, he thought to himself. As he noted cleaning tools leaning against the walls and shelving, there was no sign of life, but of course, there were countless places someone could hide. Madurai backed away from the window, turning toward the shed's entrance, a thin, light wooden door. He brushed the doorknob with just his fingertips, and once he confirmed it wasn't booby-trapped, he turned the handle. It didn't open. Someone must have locked it. Kneeling in place, Madurai paused to examine the ankle-high weeds growing around the shed. Most were upright, but a fair amount of them were bent or otherwise trampled. Someone had stepped on them recently.
Well, that settles it.
However, this gave him no peace of mind. Quite the contrary. The cautiousness Madurai had briefly forgotten returned in full force.
What kind of trap has she prepared for me?
He stood and took in a slow, deep breath. After the exhale, he turned to the door and kicked it with all his strength.
Wha-bam!
Yeah, the door opened just slightly, making a dull noise.
Wham-wham!
With a few more kicks, the gap in the door was wide enough for a single person to pass through. Jesus Christ! Just kicked right through that thing. Beyond beyond that gap, there was only darkness. Madurai lowered his posture and slipped through carefully.
Excuse me, coming in.
The sound of sand beneath his feet rippled through the silence. The structure was larger than it seemed from the outside, and the only illumination came from the flickering light outside the window, which had little effect on the gloomy darkness covering everything. Cobwebs spread in every corner of the shed, across the shelves of paint cans, the sacks of fertilizer, the edges and points of maintenance equipment.
Hey, I know you're hiding here somewhere.
Madurai's voice echoed slightly through the small room, and suddenly his eyes were drawn to a particular spot. Behind a heap of burlap sacks, he thought he saw something moving, a small, shivering movement, almost as if in response to his voice.
There she is.
Madurai advanced slowly toward the pile with increased caution. There had to be a trap here somewhere. Many of the tools in this shed could double as a weapon in the hands of scared prey. Madurai could see her in his mind, hiding in the darkness, clutching one of them in her trembling hands.
What are you planning?
Raising his voice and staying alert, he inched closer to the pile. By the time he reached the room's center, his eyes had completely adjusted to the darkness.
If it's a fight you want, I'd be happy to accommodate,
he said in a cruel, flat voice.
But I'm warning you, you will regret it later. You're going to be in a world of hurt.
For a brief second, Madurai had no clue what was going on. He felt something hit his face, and then his vision went blank.
Ah!
Groaning, he half opened his eyes. His surroundings were engulfed in white fog. Hey-ya! From behind the pile of burlap, someone had thrown a white-gray clump at his face. As soon as it struck Madurai's body, it seemed to burst open and scatter into countless small particles in the air around him. His prey thrust her hand into one of the sacks in front of her, grabbed another mound of powder from it, and hurled it at him. Hi-ya! Hi-ya! Madurai was stunned. This was no fight. It was a childish squirrel. A snowball fight with clumps of white powder instead of snow.
What the fuck?
Madurai's face twisted in anger. That he had wasted his time on something so foolish, being so cautious of something so juvenile, it infuriated him.
I've had enough. Let's just end this.
The flickering light reflected sharply in Madurai's eyes when... Do you know what a dust explosion is? The girl raised her voice at the exact moment Madurai was about to move. His momentum was cut off and he stopped instinctively. What do you think would happen if I start a fire right now?
What would...
Right now, there was fine white powder floating through the entire room. The potential of danger of the situation shot through his mind. Fire spreading from one particle to the next, igniting each in a chain reaction before bringing the entire shed up in flames.
If you do that, it's over for you too.
I thought it was over for me no matter what I do. Upon hearing those words, Madurai remembered his own words. It's impossible to predict what someone desperate will do. Madurai squinted, trying to see more clearly through the powdery fog. He could see the girl's silhouette, but that was all. As the dust began to settle around him, her face was finally visible. It was completely emotionless. Unable to pierce the facade, Madurai found it strangely intimidating.
Who the hell are you?
It was no longer the face of frightened prey. Her eyes just stared into him, unflinching. A shiver ran down his spine.
I don't think you can do it. There's nothing here you can use to start a fire. ...
The girl stayed silent. The air around Madurai became heavy in tension. His mood darkened as the intense atmosphere swelled around him.
Who the hell is this girl?
Well, if she is a despair and totally forgot, I mean, she for the first time, outside of her being a creepy yandere, she's getting kind of freaky all of a sudden.
Either way, she's an ultimate.
Oh yeah. Madurai thought for a moment that he could see his own shivering reflection in her blank eyes.
Should I run or strike first?
The two options fluttered in rapid succession inside his head. Then suddenly, for just a split second, his prey's eyes moved. Madurai turned by reflex to the point she was looking toward to find an industrial vacuum cleaner against the wall. Right next to it was a bare electric outlet.
Vacuum? Outlet? Sparks?
The thoughts connected in his mind like a word association game called Hangman's Gambit. On instinct, Madurai began to move. There was no time for hesitation, no margin for caution. He had to get there faster than she could. He took off toward the vacuum cleaner and gripped the cord in his thin hands. With all his strength, as though preparing to wield it like a whip, he yanked it toward himself and... something was not quite right. There was some resistance when he pulled. Too much resistance. That wasn't all. The girl herself didn't flinch. From the corner of his eye, even after he had reached the vacuum cleaner, he could see her standing entirely still. In fact, he even thought he saw her eyes glittering in anticipation.
Oh, shit!
The sense of something not quite right transformed into a single word in Madarai's mind.
Trap.
But it was too late. A large shadow swayed into Madarai's view, the huge stack of shelves tilting slowly toward him. The paint cans upon them slid down in his direction, rattling as they went. Closer, even closer. And then, with a thunderous roar and a cloud of dust, Ishiki Madarai was crushed beneath the falling shelves.
And we have our first character death.
What the fuck? I love that, though. Yeah, she totally just baited him into thinking that she was gonna fucking light the shed on fire, and in the process, crushed him with shelves.
Well, shit.
Damn, Ryoko cooked.
I guess that's our first death count of the story.
Damn.
One.
Well,
not too bad. Not quite as many as the first game, but we're making progress.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you want to count whoever Junko was doinking
to be fair,
in the start.
On the flip side, though, there's so far there's a lot less characters than DR1. So, you think about the percentages as well. Speaking of which, we're now 3 chapters in, and we've only made it 3%. So these chapters are flying by. We're going to get through a lot of chapters at this rate. But you never know when they could hit us with a long one.
Yeah, it's not the chapters that matter. It's that percentile count. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yep. But yeah, that was chapter 9. Any thoughts?
Bro got wrecked.
He really did.
Yeah.
He was arguably too careful, but that's the thing. She was able to figure out that he was, despite his appearance, quite cautious and kind of used that against him.
Yeah. Overthinking the situation, really, which for against an analyst is kind of easy to do. Yeah, that's the
worst thing you could do. Yeah. But yeah, so again, quick chapters, so not too much to say. So chapter 10 then.
Let's just keep it going.
Yep. Yeah, I have no idea. I didn't pre-check my video or anything to see how far I got in my third video, because I know we started at the same point, but anyways, the dust coating from the room was thrown up in the air, along with a deep, ground-rumbling noise. The cans of paint that once lined the shelves had splattered their colorful contents all over the walls and the floor, making the inside of the shed seem as though it were lifted straight out of Wonderland. I inhaled the dust, coughing heavily. Eventually, my coughing eased, and I was able to breathe a sigh of relief. I had predicted that Madarai's cautious nature wouldn't let him leave the vacuum cleaner alone right after hearing about a dust explosion. It seemed I was right. I threw the shed's window open, grabbed a fallen shovel, and stepped carefully toward the fallen shelves in order to check the condition of the crushed boy. I had to feign bravery while I was confronting him, but my feet were still shaking with nervousness. So that was all an act? You're dead eyes? Apparently, according to Madarai. It's interesting to see the perspective, right? One person is, she was even just putting on an act, but something about it to him came across so different.
I guess she's a pretty good actress as well.
Yeah, seems like it.
I mean, she has to deploy her strategies perfectly, so of course she could fail.
My hands were already dripping with sweat as they gripped the shovel. Hello? I peeked timidly through the gap in the shelves, finding Madarai pinned between them and the floor like a strange human sandwich. It seemed he was still conscious, though, because he managed to look at me weakly. Not quite dead yet.
I played right into your hands.
His voice sounded strained, possibly from the pressure of the shelving above him.
But why wasn't there an explosion? When the shelf fell, there should have been enough static for a spark.
Ah, this is cement powder. It's not flammable, I explained, still brandishing the shovel.
Cement powder?
I adjusted my hold on the shovel to open my notebook with my free hand. Let's see. The necessary conditions for a dust explosion are combustible dust, oxygen, and a source of ignition. But cement powder isn't oxidized, so it doesn't burn. In other words, you can't have a dust explosion without the dust, or something like that. I love that. It's like, oh yeah, let's see, and then says really smart things, and then at the end, or something like that. It's like, haha, haha, I'm just a bimbo. Haha, oh wait, but I'm not.
I'm really smart. I just can't control when, you know?
Yeah, but it's like, now it almost, that line feels like an act. Like, I'm sure it's probably not, but that really comes off as like, tee yeah, it's like trolling almost.
And you knew all that.
It seems the old man in charge of this shed really loves to talk, I continued, skimming my notebook. He sometimes catches random people and makes them listen to him ramble on. Hey, don't you think it's kind of shady that he told all of that to a random high school girl? But I guess it ended up saving my life, so maybe I should go thank him once this is over. I flipped through my notebook some more. Anyways, it seems this old man is really into DIY projects and loves to build things on his own. Guess that's why he stores all that cement powder in here.
And you used that as a decoy.
Yep, so I could get you to pull on the vacuum cleaner. I dropped my eyes to my notebook again and nodded vigorously. Ah, by the way, have you heard of a movie called Home Alone? I used one of the traps from it as inspiration. I tied the vacuum cleaner and the shelves together with a rope so that when you pull the vacuum cleaner, the shelves come down after it. Oh, that's right. I also used the cement powder to help keep the rope hidden. I used a white rope, so...
That's enough. I've seen that movie, damn it.
It's literally the only movie she kind of remembers, and not really. She just remembers what she wrote down about it.
So this trap was the ace up your sleeve?
Not really. I mean, at the end of Home Alone, it wasn't Culkin who ultimately stopped the robbers. It was the adult who came to save him. It was the same in the second one, too. Spoilers. So honestly, the ace up my sleeve would be when someone comes to save me, and...
That's bullshit. The kid won and you know it. I get it. Please stop.
I can imagine he's just like in excruciating pain, both mentally and physically, and he's just like, please shut up, bitch.
Just let this crush me.
Yeah, I know. Just put me out of my misery. Madurai twisted his face as though my talking exhausted him.
But don't you think it's too early to celebrate your victory?
Huh? The fucking Danganronpa and the huh is ridiculous. His strange words caught my attention, and I couldn't help returning a question. What do you mean?
I still haven't shown you my ace.
Oh god, what does that mean?
Yeah, what the hell?
Leaving only those words, Madurai finally sank into silence. Trying to question him any further brought no response. It seemed he had lost consciousness. I had the feeling
so
something...
just trying to, like, overload her brain with theories that she, like, fucks up?
I mean, my best thought would be that he's not the only one. Like, he has, like, a friend or something, maybe? But...
Maybe?
I don't know. Or he's just fucking with her, but... I don't know if he doesn't seem like the type to just say that for no reason. I had the feeling something was left unfinished, but my notebook also taught me there's a chance I might get pneumoconiosis if I inhale too much dust. And so my first priority became leaving the shed.
And what about getting him out?
She doesn't care.
Bro's gonna die.
It's not Matsuda, so it has nothing to do with her, remember?
Fair.
As I stepped outside, yeah, this is our protagonist here. Her priorities are very, interesting, but hey, she does have her priorities set.
Yeah.
As I stepped outside, the weight was lifted from my shoulders and I felt refreshed. Well, I guess the school's security department can take care of things later. Once they apprehend that boy, I'm sure everything will settle down again. I mean, he tried to attack a young girl, so he'll probably get expelled. And that means I'll never see him again. There was a quiet choking sound, as soft as a small animal. I quickly realized it was me. My throat squeezed shut. Something rugged had closed around it, making it impossible to breathe. What's going on? Even in my choked confusion, I could see the slim black telephone pole before me. Wait, a telephone pole? I looked up, even more confused, and saw a pale white face atop the tall and narrow pole. It seemed to be a human face, a familiar face.
Well, that's good.
There are some things even someone as forgetful as me can recognize. I mean, that face was the face of the man who was supposed to be unconscious under a stack of shelves. Madarai's face.
You seem surprised.
He wasn't injured in the least. Even his clothes were perfectly... Is this another, like, teleportation jutsu? Like, what the fuck?
So this was common back in the day.
What the fuck is going on?
Yeah. You thought there was only one of me? Silly girl. I am everywhere and nowhere. I am the darkness itself.
It looks like he might actually explain this.
I know what you're thinking. Why is the man I just took down inside the shed standing here strangling me? Am I right?
A cruel smile tore through Madarai's face.
To make things short, this is the ace up my sleeve. Well, part of it anyway.
His eyes, narrow as could be, were fixed on my own. They were oily and glittering. Okay.
I think for now I'll just break your arms and legs. It's going to hurt for a little while, so please endure it patiently. Though, perhaps I should let you faint first. It would be a bother if you started screaming.
His tone of voice was more composed than cruel. As my mind only vaguely registered his words, there was no chance to plead for my life. Madarai tightened his grip around my throat even further, and I felt my consciousness slowly slipping away. I felt emptiness, as if I were beginning to vanish, while each and every sensation was eradicated from my body. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't say anything anymore. I couldn't breathe anymore. I couldn't predict anymore. My notebook slipped from my hand and onto the ground. My eyes became hazy, my vision blurred. In front of my eyes, both the scenery and Madarai himself became twisted together. That's right, twisted. Madarai's body distorted into a spiral, swirling. Ground became sky and sky became ground, with only his pale face remaining the same. Then it crumpled, and I fell to the ground with a dull thud. I watched everything as it happened, right in front of me. From within my vanishing consciousness, which flickered in and out like a candle, I couldn't tell if it was reality or a dream, but nevertheless, I watched it. I believe this is Madarai.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so, because it took a peek at the next line. Croaking like a trampled frog, Madarai fell to the ground. Almost instantly, he leapt back up, his eyes drawn to his arm, as he stared at it transfixed. His right arm, from the elbow down, was unnaturally twisted like taffy. What the fuck?
What is going on?
Honestly, I couldn't really say what had happened. At first, he just stared at it with a blank expression on his face. Then, as though he suddenly remembered how to, he raised his voice in a terrible scream. You want to scream horribly in pain?
I just did.
I literally didn't hear it at all.
Oh.
It came out with such force that it seemed to expel all the air from his body. A wretched scream filled with confusion, terror, and pain. I heard that dreadful scream, but all I could do was stand there, dumbfounded. Was I even standing? I wasn't sure anymore whether I was upright or on the ground. I wasn't sure of anything. I wasn't even sure if what I heard next was a voice or something else. I may have overdone it a bit.
Oh, you want to do this voice?
Well, I think we know who this is.
I
mean, I don't know exactly who we are, but poo-hoo-hoo pretty much narrows it down to 2 people.
Damn you. Why is the bear here?
Well, I think it's just Junko, to be honest, or Mukuro, Junkuro. But
I don't know. I can't imagine Junko going poo in her actual voice.
I think Junko literally says poo-hoo-hoo.
Does she?
It might... Because, like, the poo-hoo-hoo is kind of more like the Japanese Monokuma laugh. But I think at least in the Japanese version, because she does like her like own kind of like Monokuma stuff. I'm pretty sure I've heard a Junko poo in some form or fashion. But yeah, it's definitely her just like, you know. Pretty sure. It would be funny if it was Monokuma, actually. If it ends up being Monokuma, you could do Monokuma. Yes, a voice, and it was close. Well, it's not like I had any choice. It'd be totally embarrassing if you died here. I mean, you're the protagonist in this scene, right?
Yeah, if it at the very least, she's doing her Monokuma persona right now.
That's when I noticed it. It was strange that I hadn't until now. There was a pitch black silhouette standing right before me, and on top of that black silhouette floated a face I remembered seeing somewhere before. Okay, it is Junko. But I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember whose face it was. Don't say aw about Junko. Like, I want to see Monokuma too, but Jesus Christ.
No mono cameo?
I mean, maybe later.
True.
You can't remember who I am, can you?
I apologize, Enoshima-sama.
I guess that's just natural. Well, don't worry about it. I'm sure you'll come to remember soon enough. After letting out a laugh, the voice coming out of the shadow grew quieter. But anyway, guess I gotta clean up this mess.
Are we absolutely sure it's Junko? Because how the hell did that twisted arm technique come out?
Well, I mean, it could be Junkuro, but that's the thing. Like, it also could be, you know, like that. Who knows how much they're switching to? Like, God only knows what's going on. And as if Ryoko's perspective wasn't muddied enough, she's also like barely conscious. So they could be easily switching. And that's not even getting into her memory issues. So, yeah, it could have been Junkuro and Junko popped up and each did their part. Or it could all be Junkuro. That's the thing. I don't know if Junkuro does Junko to this. Like, that's the thing. Like, this could just be Junkuro. But it's just hard to know if she was really... Because we got to see her playing the fake Junko. We got to see her playing fashionista Junko. We never saw Junkuro play Despair Junko before. So we don't know how well she could, you know, play Despair Junko. What happened next started before I knew what was going on and ended just as quickly. She placed her hand on Madarai's head, who was still on the ground, screaming in bewildered pain. As she stroked his head gently, Madurai looked up with a surprised expression when suddenly, with a sickening crunch, his head, fixed with the same shocked and horrified expression, twisted harshly and stopped at an inexplicable angle. Jesus Christ. Well, either way, they just snapped his neck.
So he is dead now.
Okay, I think this time he's legitimately dead.
Holy fuck, and he had a healing factor as well.
We don't even know! We don't know what the ace was. Like, we don't know. I mean, maybe we'll still find out, but I'm not even sure now, because they just fucking killed his ass. I had no idea what was happening. Madurai collapsed on the ground like a rag doll. Red froth spilled from his mouth as he convulsed at my feet. Ah, this is just a dream. That was the conclusion my mind reached, and I could feel my body relax at the revelation. Yes, it couldn't be anything else. This scene is so far removed from reality, it can't possibly be anything but a dream. Even that laughter, echoing deep inside my ears, it's just a dream. Suddenly, the black shadow was again standing right in front of me. This was also definitely a dream. The maybe familiar face reappeared at the top of the shadow, addressing me once more. Until you can remember me properly, why don't you just call me Ultimate Despair? Yeah, I think that fits. Oh, is this the origins of the name?
Possibly.
Interesting. The eyes on that face...
Ultimate Despair.
Yep. The eyes on that face were excessively dark. In fact, they seemed more like holes than eyes. We've seen that before, right before she kills herself in DR1. The like crazy eyes. Yep.
Spiral eyes.
Yep. I stared at them blankly, beginning to feel as if my consciousness were being sucked up into their void. Inside the holes was a bottomless swamp full of black mud. My entire body sank deeper into it as I was slowly consumed by something that wasn't myself. Then, a voice from far away.
You want me to do this?
I don't know who this is. This could
Neither
be
do
Junko
I.
still, but it says a voice from far away. I'm just gonna go with Junko. Let's meet up again sometime. Then I could kill you properly.
Yeah. Well, fuck.
It was a small voice coming from far away, but at the same time, it seemed as though it were being whispered directly into my ears. I will say, like, the details of this scene are crazy because I know what they're trying to do, and it's cool. This sure is a strange dream. With that last thought, I finally became totally submerged inside the bottomless swamp, and my consciousness was completely lost. The girl tilted her head to one side. Junko and Oshima tilted her head even further this time. It's great that I came back and all, but what's going on here? She swayed up from her crouched position to look at the thing in front of her. It was a dead body. A man, his neck and arm twisted at a severe angle. Let's see, this guy is... She raised her hand to her chin and closed her eyes tightly, posing like a great detective on the verge of a huge deduction. After a short period of indecision, Junko and Oshima suddenly raised her voice in a cheer. Oh yeah, I remember. That's right, he said his name was Madurai. Looks like even in death I forgot you. I wonder if I'll end up super forgetful too. As if.
Well,
Edoshiba's laughter echoed through the night sky, stacking upon itself as if there were several of her, laughing in simultaneous chorus. But the next moment, her laughter stopped. Her face turned sullen, as if she had suddenly grown bored of laughing.
You may not forget very easily, but you surely lose all emotion very easily.
Yeah.
That's such we got two people here with the same problem, but for
I was
very
gonna
different
say,
things.
they're surprising. In a weird way, they're almost, like, kind of similar. And it's interesting. Like, there's definitely...
One loses her memory, the other loses her emotion.
But I think even beyond just, like, the obvious, like, parallels, like, I feel like... very different, but very similar in a lot of ways. Huh. Anyway, where'd that other corpse disappear to? Suddenly, she was laughing again. Where just moments ago she seemed bored and irritable, she became jubilant, as though a switch were flipped. Well, it's not like it matters where he disappeared to, right? I am so despair-inducingly great at these kind of things. The second her declaration was done, her face turned sullen yet again.
Mommy.
But it's so unsatisfying when your plans always succeed. Whose fault is this? Isn't anyone gonna take responsibility? Her expression changed with every sentence that came out of her mouth, but none of it was an act. Every time it reflected her true feelings. Despair-inducing capriciousness. That's what she was all about. She was the ultimate despair. Junko and Oshima, after all.
Hey, she remembered the name.
Well, no, this is... Well, yeah, but this is all... Ryoko passed out.
Oh. Wait, whose thing is this then?
This is just like a narrator talking about Junko, seemingly. Unless, I guess the only other possibility would be Mukuro.
That would be
if they are really flipping that much, then this could be Mukuro kind of observing the actual Junko. Because there was this weird thing. If we go back a little, there's this weird moment where, and this is why I think you got confused, because this is Junko over here being like, what happened here? Like, Junko all of a sudden was, like, really confused. Like, Junko tilted her head even further this time. It's great that I came back and all. But what's going on here? So there's definitely weird stuff going on. I don't know what you necessarily make of all this. It could just be as simple as Mukuro was doing the thing and then Junko popped up. But it's kind of weird that Junko wouldn't even have been, like, watching or something, right? Like, she just, like,
I mean,
she just pops in. Because she popped in, yeah, because Ryoko passes out, and then all of a sudden Junko is, like, confused. As we get the voice from far away, Ryoko passes out, and then Junko's confused, and is trying to figure out what happened.
Huh. This is very confusing.
Yeah. It makes sense by the end, though. I can promise that.
That's a big promise.
It's so crazy. Oh, I'm so excited. Anyways, I gotta find where I was. Yeah, she was the ultimate despair, Junko Enoshima, after all.
Enoshima, after all.
Yep. Still gloomy, Enoshima shuffled towards Madarai's dead body. It's your fault, you know. Hey. She prodded the body with the toe of her boot. Hey, say something! What's up with being so easy to kill? You should have at least made an effort to disrupt my plans. How can I possibly despair like that? This is what's so great, because she didn't lose in DR1.
I wonder if this is actually the prologue scene, because they showed her stomping someone to death there.
Interesting.
Now it's just kind of out of left field.
At that point, she suddenly changed her voice. It hurts. Oh, it's supposed to be... Actually, you do this, because Junko would be so good that she would just sound like him. So you could be Junko pretending to be Madurai.
Oh my god, I'm voicing the star herself.
Let's go.
It hurts! What's up with being so easy to kill? You should have at least made an effort to disrupt my plans. How can I possibly despair like that?
Well, yeah, but definitely the next part though, because she's actually trying to be Madurai, so this has to be you. At that point, she suddenly changed her voice.
It hurts. I'm so sorry.
She whined, mimicking the dead Madurai's voice as though it were a morbid ventriloquist act.
Enoshima Master, please forgive me.
She began kicking the body more forcefully as she continued to speak for it. Dark red liquid dribbled from its mouth.
I'll repent by killing myself, so please forgive me.
Enoshima returned to her normal tone of voice. But you can't do that! Oh. You're already dead! What the fuck, Junko? Now this has to be the real Junko. This is too psychotic for Mukuro. I'm pretty confident in this one.
We don't know who Mukuro... We never learned anything about Mukuro.
See, I don't doubt that Mukuro is a complete psychopath, but this just feels distinctly like it's Junko. Having delivered her grand punchline, she stomped hard on Mukuro's face. Squelch. A thick
Mukuro's face, huh?
Madurai's face. She's probably done that too, if we're being honest. Probably in multiple contexts.
Such disrespect.
A thick crunching sound surrounded her. Yeah, unironically, probably. Enoshima laughed a loud, vulgar laugh, as if her one-woman show was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. But she soon grew tired of that too, and her face returned to its original expression. Well then, I guess I have to call that pitiful sister of mine and ask her to clean things up. This just got more confusing. Because this is obviously referring to Mukuro.
Is there a third sister?
I guess it's possible, but this...
No.
See, that makes it seem like Mukuro had nothing to do with this scene. That's really interesting. Huh. Interesting. Well then, I guess I'll have to call that pitiful sister of mine and ask her to clean things up over her. Yes, she would make Mukuro clean up her corpses.
Obviously.
First, the filthy corpse. Then, I'll need her to take care of that shed, too. And finally, I just have to get rid of that nuisance of a boy that Ryoko Tanashi loves so much.
Oh.
Interesting. Having confirmed...
in Matsuda, too.
Matsuda, yeah. Having confirmed her immediate plans to herself. So, like, yeah, it's like presumably killing Matsuda awakens some sort of despair in Ryoko shit, potentially. Enoshima started laughing again. That's my best guess. I mean, but the thing is like, as we've talked about, Matsuda could potentially be incredibly useful to her plans as well. So, get rid of could mean multiple things. Doesn't necessarily
but to
mean
Junko,
kill.
it usually just means
it
one
usually
thing.
Does, but you never know. As if Enoshima started laughing again, as if she had just remembered something funny. She laughed vulgarly and grandiosely, facing the sky with both arms spread open. Her cruel, gruesome laughter echoed high in the night sky. There was no coherence to it, nor any necessity or sentiment behind it. That was what the ultimate despair, Junko Enoshima, was all about. That chapter wasn't that long either. I think that was the longest one so far, but it wasn't really much different than
was.
It wasn't really that long, though.
So Madarai's dead.
Legitimately
Pretty,
this time. Yep.
Yeah, pretty unmistakably dead this time. He failed in his mission to protect anyone. There's worse people to kill you, although the manner of which she kills is up to debate.
Yes.
And, yeah, I guess for the moment, Junko is in possession of Rukuro. And... did I just say Rukuro?
Yeah, you did.
Ryoko. And now Matsuda is a target of the ultimate despair. That's, not good.
And she described him as, I have to get rid of that nuisance of a boy that Ryoko Tanashi loves so much, which further emphasizes that she clearly has big plans for Ryoko. To describe Matsuda as the nuisance of a boy that Ryoko loves so much. That kind of emphasizes, like, seemingly how important Ryoko is to whatever Junko's cooking.
Yeah.
Like, she referred to Ryoko by her name. Like, you know, that kind of really emphasized it.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
That last few pages were super interesting. Because something weird happened here with, like, Junko's appearance.
Yeah, she just fucking popped out of thin air and just broke his arm.
Killed the guy, and then after Ryoko fell asleep, she then, like, it's like she forgot what happened, which is very ironic, and then she had to figure out what happened again. And then by the end of the scene, she then implied that, she seemed to heavily imply that she was going to go and get Mukuro to help her out, which...
But how did Junko
which implies
forget?
that Mukuro was... that it actually wasn't Mukuro, it was Junko, but Junko forgot what happened. So...
yeah,
weird
Junko's not one to
stuff.
forget.
Very weird stuff happening here. I will say, though, it's really interesting. I wouldn't... like I said, There's definitely some sauce happening here.
Oh, I would hope so.
Oh, I'm so excited. But yeah, I don't know if you have any kind of further thoughts on what you actually think any of this was supposed to mean or represent. But if not, we're probably good to keep going.
Yeah, I don't know why Junko would have just forgotten and then had to deduce it all again.
Very interesting. And also, we
Yeah.
just got a little bit of Junko being Junko, which always appreciated.
You know what would be kind of interesting?
What?
And again, this kind of goes into the supernatural element of the talents themselves.
Okay.
She's pretty smart.
We're referring
But
to Ryoko? Or Junko?
Junko.
Okay, yeah.
I'm wondering if in some way, shape, or form, and again, because this series is very random so far of what's in the realm of possibility and what's just like superstition, science fiction, all that kind of shit.
Yeah, it's towing the line for sure.
I'm almost wondering if Junko's trying to create a scenario to where she steals Rukuro's talent for herself.
Okay. Sure.
And she takes her analytical ability.
I mean, it's interesting because,
game.
like I said, we have, again, we've talked about it more in the context of Matsuda helping Junko potentially, whether his research or him directly helping Junko wipe the memories of the students for the killing game in Danganronpa 1. But again, it is interesting. Our two main characters, Ryoko, this girl with memory issues, and a super crazy ultimate. And then Matsuda, who is like a neurologist, he's like a brain specialist who's doing research on her. It's interesting that those two characters are what they are. And while we obviously link that immediately to the idea of either Matsuda helping Junko wipe people's memories or Matsuda's research helping Junko wipe people's memories, it also could potentially be Matsuda might be, in that theory, Matsuda's probably the key to how Junko would be able to steal Ryoko's talent. It would probably be some mind thing with Matsuda.
Yeah.
So that also is interesting.
But it also
because,
just
again,
goes into
who
the
these
study
two main
of
characters
how
are.
talents even work.
Sure.
I mean, they say every single Ultimate Lucky student has been a success. And it's
That's the
completely
implication,
random.
Yep.
Who even gets that? So
And I'm sure a lot of that is just the reputation of Hope's Peak. Like, people,
pretty cool.
just simp for anyone that's come from that school. But nonetheless,
As they should.
fair. Very interesting, though. That chapter was definitely the most notable one so far of this session.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how long we've been going, but it's definitely not. But I still don't think it's been too long, so I think we're still good for a bit if you want to keep going.
It's been... Yeah, it's been about an hour 20.
Oh, yeah, that's still a short episode, so yeah, we keep going. I wouldn't be surprised if... I'm just taking a guess here, because I can actually check real quick, but I think... I'm just kind of trying to vaguely remember. I want to say I got to 12. I think I might have did 7 to 12 in my episode 3, if I'm not mistaken. I'm actually going to check real quick.
That might get you to 35%.
Yeah, because we're at 30 right now. Because even that chapter was only a couple percent. It wasn't that much. So I'm just going to real quick here check. Let's see. Third. Because I actually, in the description for my DR0 videos, I actually put how long they were. Yeah, I did 7 to 12. So we'll see.
Interesting.
Because so far, we've been on this exact same pace, because I did the exact same amounts for the first two videos as we did together. Anyways, you ready for Chapter 11?
Yes, sir.
When I finally opened my eyes, I saw a ceiling. It looks as though I fell asleep without realizing it. Of course, being as forgetful as I am, I never really remember falling asleep in the first place, so it was no real cause for alarm. I calmly turned my gaze from the ceiling to a nearby window. Sunlight beamed in through a gap in the curtains, illuminating the white room I was in. It seemed to be morning. This room, it was a room I couldn't remember. But that's the same as always, too. So presumably, probably Mukuro, if I had to guess. But regardless, the Spare Sisters just put her back in her room. Seemingly.
That is possible.
that was probably one of the other things that Junko made Mukuro do, if I had to guess. But either way, it does seem like they just were like, yeah, let's just put her back to where she's supposed to be.
Alright, that was quite a night. Till tomorrow. Now, where's
great.
that fucking body gone?
God, that's funny. And then they go searching for this fucking body they can't find. Anyway.
Who dares up the ultimate despairs?
Anyway, my first order of business is always to calmly confirm the situation in Ryoko Tsunashi's memory notebook. Oh, you're in for a surprise, sweetie. And
yes.
I just imagine just like, yeah, it's just, it's a regular day. I woke up, you go to read your notebook and remember what happened, and then you're just like, what the fuck?
Wow,
So
that was
weird.
quite a night.
Yeah. And so I slowly tried to rise up from the bed, only to realize that I couldn't. Oh, what's going on?
Oh.
My body was firmly tied to the bed with a sturdy-looking rope. It was a magnificent knot that I could only describe as craftsman-like, and it bound me so tightly I could hardly move my body at all. Even my neck was limited in its motion, which made looking around the room any further impossible. Then, finally, I remembered how to feel scared. In other words, I went from, what's going on, to, what's going on? What's going on? But no matter how much I struggled, all I could do was shake and rattle the bed. Not only did the diligently tied rope show no signs of becoming looser, it almost seemed to be getting tighter. Kinky. Someone! Help me! Once I started, I couldn't stop. I shouted louder and louder, "Please! Somebody help me!" Then, after my earnest calls for help had been going on for a short while, "You're being too loud, dung beetle."
What
Interesting.
the hell?
So now she's back in the... So now she's back with Matsuda, and presumably he's doing like more of his tests on her.
Yeah, so we just had a time skip here.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. They could do that because she wouldn't she probably went through the process of like, oh, you know, I'm gonna still assume she was probably put back in her room, but then she woke up, she read all this, she was like, what the fuck, and then she forgot about it, and then probably eventually went to Matsuda, and then fell asleep or was put to sleep or whatever, and then she woke up again, forgot about everything. God, this fucking story is crazy. I'm gonna guess that's what happened, but we'll see. But honestly, the way that this is presented, it's almost like, I'm sure we're going to find out soon that everything that just happened did happen. But I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, it's almost like, did it even happen?
Oh my god, that would be another
crazy.
level of what in the hell am I reading?
I know, right?
It better have happened. That was some good shit.
Yeah, it was. That was a cool design to just kill the guy off, though, I will say. But, you know, it's fair.
You could say that about a lot of the characters in Danganronpa.
That's fair. They just about all have great designs.
That was a cool design. Shame they died so soon.
At least you're dying at the hands of Juko, Mukuro, whatever. That's always a W.
And so many of them died without even knowing exactly who was killing them.
Now that's an L.
That is a tragedy.
Yes, truly a tragedy. The words were abusive.
Tragedy.
Yep, the words were abusive, but my heart started beating even faster than it already was. Matsuda? If you want to scream, do it more quietly, dumbass. It really is you.
Rude.
Okay, that's funny. From the moment I knew for certain that the mocking voice belonged to my beloved Matsuda, my only desire was to rush and search for him. But since my head was pretty firmly tied in place, I couldn't even do that. "Where are you, Matsuda?" I called frantically. "Where? I'm right under you." "Huh?
Ooh.
Under me? I'm under the bed you're lying on, you cheap woman." Holy shit.
Whoa.
Yeah, some of his disses are kind of wild, actually. Even disregarding the crass comment, what he said was a bit strange. Why are you under the bed? So I can control my frustration and actually concentrate. Being in the midst of a bondage situation, I couldn't confirm with my own eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Of course she would think of it that way. I mean, we know how she feels about him.
If you needed a cold but warm, calm place to get your thoughts together, you could always try my thighs.
Lovely.
Truth.
Being in the midst of a bondage situation, I couldn't confirm it with my own eyes, but his voice certainly seemed to come from the other side of the bed. There was no mistaking it. He was, in fact, beneath me. Sounds kinky. But what would require so much concentration? Yeah, especially after you comment about a bondage situation. What would require so much concentration that you'd have to be under a bed? This situation. It could have meant anything, but regardless, I gave my support. Hey, Matsuda, if something is troubling you, you can always come to me. I'll listen to your troubles anytime. I think I'll take you up on that offer. Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
Matsuda took a deep breath. Last night, I was informed that a super ugly acquaintance of mine went missing. So I had no choice but to go search. So he probably heard this from Kamashiro.
Yeah.
She went to his room. Yeah, you know. So I had no choice but to go searching all over the place for her. But when I came back to the lab, I discovered her ugly, dirty body lying on top of my bed, sleeping like a log and snoring like a chainsaw. So, do you think you can understand my frustration? Okay, so that's where Mukuro and Junko took her.
Just fucking dumped her on his bed.
Well, I mean, it's his what, research lab or whatever, because he's got that bed in there.
Yeah.
But it's still really funny.
I mean, they said he like sleeps in there most of the time anyway.
Yeah.
So it is
Very
basically his bed
shit.
too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, God only knows what he was doing, because he wasn't at his room or at the biology lab, as we now know. So God only knows what he was up to last night, as if there weren't more mysteries. That sounds like a really bad, super ugly friend you have. It's you. Oh, okay. Fucking hell, girl.
God, you are frustrating.
Honestly. So I've gone missing? Someone who can't even remember themselves going missing really shouldn't be allowed to act freely. I guess tying you up was a good decision. Kinky. That actually, unironically kinky. I'm gonna take your free will. That means the person who tied me up was Matsuda. How surprising. I wouldn't have imagined he could tie such a masterful knot. This is even a little stimulating. Oh my god, what the fuck?
And you can calm down right now. I know what you're thinking,
Genuinely
girl.
getting horny over this is crazy.
I mean, this is all she thinks about day in, day out for the rest of her life.
Yep. If she knows
just
or has
being
remembered...
at the mercy of her master.
Trust me, anytime she actually remembers how to masturbate is a crazy night.
Master?
Yes. Matsubate,
choice
maybe,
of words.
you know? Yeah. Anyways.
But shut up.
Anyway, I'm going to keep you tied up there for a while so you can reflect on what you did. How long would you say a while is? I think until the next World Cup would be... That's way too long! How do you know?
How do you know that?
Maybe she has a core memory related to the World Cup.
Come on! I may have absurd amnesia, but even I know when the World Cup is.
That would be a funny line. That feels like a Junko line, though. You don't have a choice. Anyway, I think at least for today should be good. That's still too long. People don't just tie up their lovers for a whole day. Oh, shit. Who's my lover? I'd rather wake up as a squid tomorrow than have vermin for a girlfriend. Vermin? I couldn't find anything to say in response to his nastiness. It really seemed as though Matsuda was mad. His silence afterward affirmed it. On top of the bed, I was silent.
You mean you're not just being tsundere right now?
Yeah, I know. I love
you actually hate me?
Interesting. Under the bed, Matsuda was silent. That awkward atmosphere continued for what felt like forever. After some time passed, Matsuda sighed. Honestly, you've always been that way. Eh? What are you talking about? Ooh, backstory? Cook?
Maybe. Well, yeah.
I just remembered. Something like this happened before. You've always known the perfect ways to irritate me. I'm not sure if I want to hear this or not, but I'll listen, I guess. So, what happened before? Matsuda started telling the story. Wow, he's actually going to tell the story. Okay. I'm kind of surprised, given the way he acts.
Let's go.
It's like the mask has fallen off a little bit. Like, he's acting a little less tsundere than normal. I mean, he's still being a dick to her, but...
Every tsundere has a few cracks of the mask.
I feel like something happened last night, because he's acting a little different. Just a tad bit, but I'm noticing something.
Maybe he got worried.
There's a part of me that almost wonders if they just left her ass there and he found her.
Damn.
That would be kind of funny. And he just lied about, her just being in the room. He put her there. That would make sense.
That's definitely him.
It was probably Junko Mukuro just taking her, but that also I could see that happening too. Because we have no idea where he was all night. Matsuda started telling the story slowly as he struggled to turn the memories in his head into words. It was just after you started elementary school. Okay, so they're childhood friends then. Okay, that's a note. I was surprised already at how old the story was, but at the same time it made me happy. It meant I've been together with Matsuda ever since I was little, and it meant that he remembered such an old story about me. But I don't remember it, of course. There's nothing I could do about that. You were really skilled at making sandcastles, and amazed everyone when you started building this surprisingly large and intricate one at the public park. It was modeled after the Sagrada Familia. That's really amazing, isn't it? I mean, a tiny elementary school student deciding she wants to recreate a cathedral of all things. And on top of that, you even knew how to use some advanced techniques, like solidifying the sand with some water. It took you an entire month to build. Jesus. So I'm assuming that was, early signs of her analytical prowess coming through.
Most
probably.
likely.
Yeah. An entire month? The real Sagrada Familia has been under construction for 120 years, and it still isn't complete. It's not too surprising it would take that long to build a perfect replica out of sand. But still, an entire month? I wonder what I wanted to prove back then.
That you were worthy of your senpai's love.
It was truly an amazing effort. No one could believe it was built by an elementary school student. As you were getting closer to completion, a bunch of people from around the neighborhood came by just to watch you work. But, well, you never actually finished it. So I would assume, based on the way we're talking, it seems like she did have her memory was fully intact back then.
Yeah, it seems like a recent thing.
Yeah, so
she's been in Hope's Peak.
Yeah, sure, but we didn't have any confirmation. This seems to be about as close as we'll get. That at the very least,
like there was enough though, just to infer that.
Sure. Why? You said I was really close. Matsuda answered my question in a rather flat, matter-of-fact tone. Someone destroyed it just when it was about to be completed. Destroyed it? An image suddenly appeared in my mind of a pitiful... It'd be so funny if Matsuda was like, I did it.
Sorry, I slipped.
He's been an evil tsundere this whole time since they were little kids. An image suddenly appeared in my mind of a pitiful wreck of a sandcastle that had been trampled upon. Why? Why would they? You'd have to be a truly heartless person to destroy something a little girl put her heart and soul into. I was still tied to the bed, but my voice had raging fire in it. You cried a lot over it. I mean, a whole month's work gone like that. Well, of course I did.
Would you say that brought you a lot of despair?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking the same thing, too. This feels like a despair... story.
I'm just imagining a cute little Junko just obliterating that thing.
This feels like a despair story in some regard. Like, it definitely has that energy. I felt intense empathy for my elementary school self. It's probably not surprising, but I was pretty pissed over it and started looking for whoever did it. Okay, so you just weren't a tsundere back then. Good to know.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, okay, so something made him the
Who
way
hurt
he
you?
is. It seems like they were really close and not, like, weird about it back then. But no matter how hard I looked, I couldn't find a single clue. There wasn't even supposed to be anyone at the park when the Sagrada Familia got destroyed except for you. I couldn't find any other witnesses, and so my search hit a dead end. I think I got really depressed at that point. I remember sitting on a bench at the park, staring at the remains of the Sagrada Familia, when you suddenly came running to me. What was weird, though, is that you had this huge smile on your face, like I'd never seen before. Ah, I know, I bet I found the culprit, didn't I? No, that wasn't it. He sounded as if it would have been much better that had that been the case. You came and whispered in my ear. You told me to keep it a secret, but that it was you who destroyed the Sagrada Familia.
What the hell?
So she worked a month on this super detailed sandcastle replica of a cathedral and then destroyed it herself.
What an arsehole.
To herself?
Yeah.
See, like I said, this was sounding like a despair story. It still sounds like a despair story.
Yeah, just a little different. Okay, maybe she is or was and is destined to be a despair. If she's doing shit like that.
Yeah, like, because that sounds like the type of thing that Junko would do. Like, that's a very, like, fucked up despair thing.
It's exactly the kind of thing Miss Enoshima would do.
Yeah, yeah. I love how you were like, oh yeah, little Junko. Well, you know, I guess little Ryuko wasn't potentially not that far off. Huh. I was struck by complete surprise. So I spent a full month working on a sandcastle, and when it was almost done, I destroyed it myself? Irritating, isn't it? Irritating or not, why would I even do such a thing? And that's the thing. She was smiling, she was so happy when she walked up to him and then whispered in his ear that she did it. But she was like joyful about the idea that the fact that she destroyed her own masterpiece.
What I create, I destroy.
Interesting. I asked you that.
What a weird girl.
Oh, irritating or not, why would I even do such a thing? I asked you that. It wasn't clumsiness or anything. I mean, if it were, you would have said so from the start. Thanks to you, I wasted my time looking for a culprit that didn't exist. It wasn't an accident? So that means I ruined a month's worth of work on purpose? How much of an idiot was I? I couldn't empathize with her in the least at this point. In the end, you just used me as your plaything. Do you get it now? You can be absolutely infuriating at times.
But I bet you still enjoy it.
That's a really interesting story. That feels very important. Yep, I guess even while tied down, I'm a total lost cause. We've reached a rare agreement, then. Just like that, I was convinced being tied up was a good idea. But I still had one regret. What the fuck? I really am a demon. I should be tied up.
Oh, yeah.
You're right, but there's more to it.
Starting to feel a little loose, master.
God damn it. Oh, Toko would be like... There would be a flood on the floor if Toko was in this position.
Yep, and a different mix of fluids it would contain.
I mean, to be fair, even ironically enough, even Ryuko admitted to feeling a little something.
Just put it into words that you'll understand. It was not just the mouth down south this time.
Oh, yeah. God damn it. God damn it. That's such a stupid line. I love it.
Even for Toko, that one was just like fucking
that was
out
wild.
there. Like, what?
I feel like that's one of those things where like if she said like pussy, it would have been less weird than mouth down south.
She's a writing prodigy. She has to properly articulate her thoughts in a, very descriptive and fluent manner.
Given that she writes romance novels, that makes that even wilder.
Pussy, that's a word that like everyone knows and is familiar with, and that's shit you find on Wattpad, for crying out loud. You think she'd have her work compared to that filth trash?
Keck W. Anyways,
No. Mouth
it was
down south, baby.
It was no, but I still had one regret. No, it was deeper than regret. A deeper feeling I couldn't find the word for. What is it? Does your stomach hurt? Look at him! Look at him immediately being like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
You try to hide it so much, Matsuda.
And you're pretty bad at hiding it too.
Yeah. No, that's not it. The only thing that makes it kind of work is that he's really cruel. Like he says like some really nasty stuff, which makes it kind of work. But yeah, he's not very good at hiding it. No, that's not it. It's just frustrating. I finally got to hear your memories of me straight from your mouth. Since I don't have my notebook, I'm gonna forget them all again. If you want your notebook, I put it beside the pillow. Yeah, really? My heart leapt at such an unexpected act of love. Which side, left or right, or maybe neither of them? What? Calm down, dimwit. It's on your right side. If it's to my right, I should concentrate on my right side. You really are, dimwit. I strained my muscles, turning as best as I could to the side. As expected, my notebook was resting there. Ah, there it is. I stretched my neck like a turtle and grabbed a corner of it between pouted lips. Then, overexerting the muscles in my neck, lips, and tongue, I somehow succeeded in getting the notebook open. Opening it is one thing, but how am I supposed to write anything? As I contemplated that fundamental problem, a phrase in the notebook entered my field of vision, and Junko Enoshima killed him. The letters looked like twisted hieroglyphs that had been written with a very shaky hand. I couldn't understand what they said next. What's this? Junko Enoshima killed him. Is this about a movie or something? I heard a loud bang from beneath and felt a hard impact shake the bed. Damn! He just like banged his head on the bed. Oi! What did you just say? Matsuda's voice was suddenly rigid. Oh. So it seems like he's
familiar with
he
Junko.
reacted to that very strongly. Confused
Junko Enoshima?
That's not good. Confused by the intensity of his voice, I strained once again to look at the notebook. Another sentence jumped out at me. I discovered a dead body at the Central Plaza. Dead body? It took me about 3 seconds to understand the words on the page. Then I started screaming, dead body! As I tried to get up, the rope dug into my skin, causing me to yell in an entirely different manner. Ow! Nevertheless, Matsuda didn't seem to care about my predicament. He just asked the question again in the same stiff voice. Did you say Junko Enoshima?
Ooh, yes. Yes, she did.
There's so much here that we still don't know. Also, officially 1/3 of the way through the story, 33%. But there's so much here. But I didn't know anyone.
What exactly is the history there?
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're getting all these weird hints, right? Because we just got a hint that, like, Ryuko has, like, some weird sus despair tendencies. Again, like I said, similarities to Junko, and Matsuda knows Junko. So, like, there's a few ways to piece these together, but it's definitely looking like, Ryuko probably has some extended history with Junko, and it's possible that Matsuda does too. Interesting. But I didn't know anyone by that name, so it didn't matter. A dead body. It says here I found a dead body. What am I gonna do? What do you do when you find a body? It's more important right now that you answer me. do you know who Junko Enoshima is? That's crazy. He's like, no. I don't give a fuck that you found a dead body. Do you know who Junko is? See, that tells me that he knows Junko. If he's saying,
of course,
you knowing Junko is more important than finding a dead body. I mean,
Junko did literally reference him, so there's some shit there.
Interesting. I'm intrigued. More important? Yeah, even she's like, wait, really? Upon hearing those words, a sense of discomfort spread through my body. It was such a strange reaction. I mean, how could that be more important than discovering a dead body? That's just not natural. Hey, Matsuda. I tried to stop overthinking and ask directly. You seem to be worried about this Junko Enoshima person. Have you met her before or something? I could hear short, quick breaths from under the bed. PTSD.
I know he's still under the fucking bed in all of this.
Yeah, he hit his head when he heard Junko, and then he's still just talking to her. I wonder if now he's doing it because he doesn't want Ryoko to see his face. Because he's, like, potentially freaking out.
Possibly.
Hey, Matsuda? There wasn't a dead body. Wait, you went there? I guess it's the next day. I guess they would have found it.
Possibly, yeah. Because he said you just showed up on my bed.
Yeah. If you really had found one, the school would have been in an uproar by now. There's nothing like that going on. That's not it. About that girl, what was her name again? As I tried to skim my notebook again, it began to slip from my chest and out of reach. No matter how much I stretched my neck and tongue, I couldn't get to it anymore. That's enough. I was mistaken. That girl has nothing to do with either me or you. Forget about it. Bullshit.
Ooh. Interesting. So he might even just take her notebook and be like, I'm keeping this now. Or and then just read what the fuck happened, because even if he found her out there,
out
like
the page or pages involving
knew nothing
Junko.
about. Yeah, he knew nothing about Junko.
There's so much here, and there's multiple ways this could go, but it's really interesting. His words had an air of irritation about them. But if you tell me to forget it, I'll definitely start worrying more. I mean, it was written right there in my notebook, so it must be something that really happened to me. That's not necessarily true. Finding a dead body, meeting a strange girl, they're most likely just stories you made up. Things you're just mistaking as real memories now. Now in the story, they're like making the commentary of like, can you even trust?
Don't trust us.
They're literally saying it in the story now. I never write made-up stories in my notebook. I mean, if I did, they'd get mixed up with my memories, which would be terrible. Maybe that's exactly why you did it? Huh? You might really have mixed fake stories in with your memories on purpose.
Jesus, because you're going to start making her doubt herself at this point.
I think he's doing it on purpose too, but I can't tell. See, this is where it gets like
but
weird.
What's the benefit?
It might be because he's suspicious that she actually met Junko, and he wants to convince her that she can't trust anything, even her notebook, and it's all like a weird way to protect her. But there's also a part of me that's like, there's a part of me that has this feeling that like, because I can't. That's the thing, right? It's like there's the timeline where Ryoko's a despair and doesn't remember, and there's also the timeline where they're both despairs. And I can't. It's hard to tell with Matsuda because he seems like a good guy, but there's definitely like red flags with him for sure as well. Not as many as Ryoko, but like, so it's this weird thing where it's like what I believe is real is these two love each other very much. And it's one of those things where it's... What?
Possibly.
And probably. Unless that was some weird manufacturing. Yeah, I guess, depending on how crazy you want to get, there could be acting involved here. from Matsuda's perspective, potentially. But,
Or maybe the tsundere is the act.
Sure. But it's one of those things where I feel like based on how we got that backstory, Ryoko seems like she's been just fucked from presumably the beginning. Like, she's giving off energy that she's like Junko, that she, as long as she can remember, she's just been fucked in the head. And now I'm starting to wonder if...
Well, yeah, she can't remember anything.
The lore here... Well, yeah, but I mean, like, despair fucked in the head, not, like, memory loss. And I'm almost wondering if it's, like, a thing where it's, like, she kind of, like, turned him because he was so in love with her.
Oh, Jesus. This is...
And it's something like that. And then it's, like, where does Junko fit into that? But obviously, if these two kind of became despairs separate from Junko's influence, obviously them all ending up at Hope's Peak, I'm sure that sooner or later they've ran into each other, and God only knows what happened. Maybe Junko was so fucking psychotic that bro was like, you know what, on second thought, maybe we're better off not, and then, like, he fucked with her head. I don't know. Like, there's so many different ways that you can... There's so many possibilities.
I mean, it's possible he did all of this because she was already affiliated with Junko before.
Uh-huh.
And he fucked her mind because of that.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Now,
and he's trying to protect her from Junko, and Junko's trying to just literally... All Junko is trying to do is just restore Ryoko's memory.
Yeah, and now he's trying to do even more irreparable damage to her just to keep her outside, away from Junko.
That's the energy! That's the energy! It's like, he doesn't care if she gets worse, because he's deciding that he'll be the villain and the lesser of two evils. He'd rather be the bad guy if it means protecting Ryoko from Junko. Because the thing that came across in this, for sure, is he knows Junko. And I don't mean,
for sure.
Like, he knows Junko. And that's terrifying. Whatever that means. That's bad. Not many people know Junko. Like, unless they're on her side, or, like...
the second now, I guess.
Yeah, like, something's up there. Like, there's a story to that. The fact that he seemingly knows the real Junko and is still alive, and seemingly is not on her side...
From what we can tell, yeah.
Yeah, see, that part is still iffy. I don't know. He might be playing both sides, though. There might be... I don't know. He might be in deep with some shit, too. I don't know. Like, it might be one of those things where his love for Ryoko outshines everything. But
God,
I don't know. There's sus here. There is some serious sus here. Anyways.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah, that's crazy, though. You might really have mixed fake stories in with your memories on purpose. That's a crazy thing to say to her. That is wild. My heart became hazy as I listened to his blunt words. Well, why would I do something like that? You're always saying how nothing has anything to do with you. If that were the case, wouldn't you get lonely? Not being able to retain memories means struggling to form bonds with those around you. That sort of thing would definitely start to affect you. But you know, you're bullshitting because you know she's so obsessed with you. That's literally all she cares about. And you know that, Matsuda.
Super yandere.
I felt my breathing slow. That must be it. You were lonely, so you started writing an imaginary story. I'm not lonely, not at all! I blurted out upset. Oh? And you remember that? Yeah, because you could tell, he's getting concerned that she's remembering things. Which lines up with some variation of the fact that he doesn't want her to get her memory back, if nothing else.
Which, yeah, implies this is an artificial problem.
There's a good chance. Matsuda's sullen voice yelled back from under the bed, muffled slightly. That's not it at all, I cried in return. Matsuda's words were so off the mark. He didn't understand me at all, so all I could do was shout. What's ironic is both Matsuda and Ryoko seem to both want her memories to not return. That's what's ironic about this. Because Ryoko doesn't want, like, the complex... She likes her simple life of just Matsuda, Matsuda, Matsuda. So,
what if he programmed her to be like that too?
It's possible.
Yeah.
That gets into, like,
how far can he go?
Sure enough, then we find out, like I said, that he's a yandere too.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great. You don't see a lot of yandere x yandere. That's a rare one.
But so beautiful.
True. I'm sure I told you over and over, and I bet you got tired of hearing me say it. I'll be fine as long as you're with me. As long as you're here, I'll never be lonely. I'll say it again and again if I have to. I shouted so hard my breathing grew uneven, and my ears began to ring. It might have been unfair to use my forgetfulness to push closer to Matsuda, but I didn't want to ever forget him. I know I'm just forgetful, so why don't you? Damn. After the echoes of my screams were gone, there was silence. Uncomfortable silence. Finally, Matsuda broke the silence with a quiet mumble. Anyway, it's a fake memory. Even after all that, he's still like, this didn't happen.
What's the point? She's gonna forget it anyway. She's gonna forget he even told him this.
But I think that's what he's worried about. I think he's worried that she's not gonna forget. Interesting.
Let's see.
He probably wanted to put an end to the conversation once and for all, but I couldn't accept it that easily. But if it didn't really happen, then I can't trust my own notebook anymore. And if I can't do that, what is there left for me to believe in? Oh my god, he's gonna say believe in me! I think. I don't know. Would he say that? Yes!
You just...
Yes!
Oh, fuck.
Holy shit, he actually said that! Believe in me. Believe in me and forget what's written there. That's crazy.
God, it really is like he's the reason she's obsessed with him.
This is wild. This writing is awesome, though.
It almost seems like, yeah, she was with Junko, like, on board with her, and then he just fucked her up, and it's like, yeah, this is how it's gotta be now.
He saved her, but at what cost, right? Like, he stripped her of her memory and her freedom to save her from Junko.
Yeah, and from herself, I guess.
And it's like him deciding that this is more important. Because, yeah,
but that's also like a thing of where, like,
is potentially... I mean, like I said, there's implications that she's kind of like another Junko, where she's like... She's been like this, I think, seemingly since she was really young.
The other implication is that because she's the ultimate analyst, she would have, like, come to the conclusion that Junko's side was the best side.
Sure.
Or the winning side.
That could be an element in it.
Yeah. She saw no way of beating Junko or of others beating her, so it's like, well, you're the best side.
I think it might just be more of like, you know, like the creativity of Junko meeting the analytical nature of Ryoko, but both having the kind of same qualities of, you know, fuck everything.
Yeah, it's possible too.
And they just kind of bonded. Because that's the thing. It's important to note, Junko even called her Ryoko Otanashi. Like, there was a surprise... Like, that was when she wasn't around, or when Ryoko was passed out. There was an odd... Like, it felt weird. It gave out that energy of, like, Junko actually, like... I don't even know the right word to use. Likes her, respects her. Like, with Junko, it's hard to even use any of those words. Because, like, that's so complicated. Every emotion is complicated with Junko. But, yeah, it gave off an energy of, like, she thinks of her as something, you know, because a pitiful sister, a nuisance of a boy, Ryoko Otanashi. Like, the way she described Mukuro and Matsuda was so different from the way she described Ryoko. Now, she obviously said a lot of crazy shit to Ryoko in person, but the way she thought about her was different than the others. So I don't know. Maybe we found Junko's one true friend.
I thought you were about to say one true love.
Honestly, what's the difference with Junko? I think she loves everyone in her own sick way, to be honest, though.
Yeah, she does. She set up a beautiful killing game for her friends.
The crazy thing is, that's not even a joke.
Yeah. And it brought her much despair seeing them die because she cared about them.
It's so... But the very act of caring about them also brings her despair because she's wild. Anyways...
And that makes her love it even more.
It's a never-ending loop, yeah. Feedback loop. Had these been normal circumstances, my heart would probably leap at those words, but that was impossible right now. And in fact, my heart was beating no faster than normal. There was a conflict inside it, and any pounding I might have felt was drowned out by the ringing in my ears. Interesting. So she's like, even after he said that, she's kind of like, no, like the Notebook is, you know, she's actually, in a weird way, she's kind of picking the Notebook over him.
Over Matsuda.
Interesting. Yeah. The only two certainties in my life were clashing violently, and I was caught in the middle as if I were a small boat caught in a storm. Ryoko Otanashi's memory notebook was the one and only trusted route to my memories. Matsuda was the one and only existence connecting me to the rest of the world. This is, like I will say, like especially this chapter, but like, oh, this is so well written. I was suddenly forced to choose between them. Yep. Should I believe in myself, or should I believe in Matsuda? I finally reached a conclusion. This is a game, we
get a choice.
I finally reached a conclusion. You've always been there for me, Matsuda. So I'll let you be my dearest
friend. God damn it, that was not the right choice.
She simped. She simped.
Fuck! You went against your every instinct and you just...
Yeah. I love that, though. I love that detail that, like, her instinct was to not trust him.
Yeah.
Especially the instinct of a ultimate analyst. I would imagine it's pretty good.
Oh, this is the wrong... I don't know, because getting her memory back might mean she joins Junko. And
well, it's kind of one of those weird things, right? Where it's like, I think that's the thing. The happy end... What is the happy ending? Like, is ignorance truly bliss? Because that's the thing. Ryoko is living in ignorant bliss. That is literally her whole character is based on the... Essentially, ignorance is bliss is like her character to a T. But... What is it's like, is running away from reality the happy ending, or is it embracing who you truly are the happy ending, no matter how, you know, horrific it might be? It's kind of a lose-lose game, right? Like, that's what's interesting about, and that's kind of Danganronpa to a T, but this feels like a story that does not have a happy ending. It's hard to imagine. Now, obviously, we know some of the context with the tragedy that it's very likely this will have a unhappy ending. But even just looking at these characters, it's hard to imagine a happy ending for these characters.
But a good one for Junko.
So that's the thing, right? But that's the thing. If Ryoko is really how we're imagining she is...
a good ending for these people.
No matter how dark the ending, it actually would be a happy ending for Ryoko if she's really the way that we think she is.
For her specifically, yes. For everyone else, not a chance.
Yeah. But she's our protagonist. I mean, he kind of is too, but I feel like she feels more like the protagonist than he does.
I mean, she's got a lot more screen time.
So far, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, this episode, we haven't had a Matsuda perspective at all in this episode.
We haven't had a Jin one either.
Well, yeah, but Jin's barely been in this shit yet.
I mean, he's had a POV, I think, or he's at least
he did have his little chapter. Yeah, at the beginning, he had that might have been chapter 1 actually. That was in Jin's point of view.
Poor guy's never destined to be a main character.
Yeah, because I think we got Junko in the prologue, then we got Jin in chapter 1, and then I think chapter 2 was where they introduced Matsuda and Ryoko.
Yeah, I think we made it to chapter 3.
Maybe. I think chapter 2 was just long as shit, but maybe we got to chapter
1 of them was.
I think it was just chapter 2 just went on forever, because that was the character introduction to the two of them, and I think that just goes on forever, which is fine, it's good, but, you know, again, it's just funny the way the chapters go. Anyways, you've always been there for me, Matsuda, so I'll let you be my memory. Matsuda stayed quiet for a while under the bed. I waited motionless and patient. I waited until he gave me an answer. Then he finally did. Right now, That's impossible. Damn!
What do you want from me?
I was about to say all that just to say that. It was the exact opposite of what I hoped for. I was dumbfounded, and as I tried to reply, I could hardly piece together a response. You can't now? Then when could you? I don't know. Damn.
I'm getting mixed signals.
He really does. It's so interesting. It's hard to get a read on him. Like, I think he's a good person doing a lot of bad things, but it's so hard to get a read on him.
Yeah, it really is.
You don't know? Anyway, it's impossible right now. I can't be with you constantly. There are some other things I have to do.
Alright,
Things he had to do, so then... That's right, you need to concentrate on your research, of course, which means no matter how much I choose you, you can't choose me back. All I could do was grudgingly whisper those words of resentment. No, that's not it. Damn, he's really breaking the mask.
Yeah, are we just discarding it entirely now?
Yeah, I think hearing Junko and Ashima's name, like, fucked him up.
That's rattled him badly now.
Yeah, like, that mask is crumbling. It seemed Matsuda was about to say something, but he held his tongue at the last minute. He sank into silence and said nothing more. I kept waiting. Waiting for him to say something. Anything. If you can't do that, then at least cure me. Whoa.
That was pretty bitter.
My face grew hot, and the ceiling began to blur. Tears began streaming down my face, and I'm certain my nose was running as well. But I couldn't stop the stream of emotions flowing out of me anymore. And if you can't cure me, at least make me forget about you too.
Holy
shit. My voice
shit.
trembled as I cried out to him. It hurts too much that you're the only thing I can remember. I'd rather not remember anything at all. The rope cut deeper into my skin as I thrashed and cried. The pain was nothing compared to the emotions I was drowning in. It's fine already. Just let me forget. Let me forget about you. There was a rustling.
Oh, girl, he's the reason you can only remember him.
God damn it. Probably. I don't want to completely lock that in, but I do agree that that's the most likely situation. The context as to why goes in a bunch of directions, but I do think he probably did this to her. There was a rustling noise from beneath the bed. Just after, Matsuda rose up and stood beside me. As he looked down at my sobbing face, he didn't utter a word. Then he reached into his pocket, withdrew a few crumpled tissues, and without saying anything, gently wiped my face dry. I gazed at him. Almond eyes sunken in the middle of a worryingly pale face, soft black hair hanging down near the corners of his eyes, long feminine eyelashes, a pointed jaw, thin lips, slender and pale fingers. That was Matsuda, but his face looked lovely.
Lonely.
Oh, yeah, lonely. Well, probably lovely too, but definitely lonely.
Of course.
He looked at me with lonely eyes.
But we're not in simp mode right now.
And gently wiped the tears and the snot from my face. For some reason, it felt scary. Regret swelled in me as my lips parted to mouth something. Matsuda. Matsuda's hand stopped moving. He quietly turned aside and started walking towards his desk. Soon, he disappeared from my field of vision entirely. Matsuda! I finally managed to speak again, but I have an appointment I have to go to. I could hear his voice from somewhere nearby. I've been entrusted with the treatment of a certain student. I can't postpone it. You're going? I'll be back soon. We'll continue our discussion then. Soon, I could hear his footsteps walking away. And then, the lonely sound of the door closing. He's gone.
Wow.
Yeah, that chapter was nuts, too. That's two in a row that were crazy.
I think that was our first chapter where or our first conversation where she didn't forget anything halfway through.
Yeah, you're right. She's definitely Yeah, I'm sure he notices that.
So the effects of whatever the hell happened are starting to wear off.
It's interesting
and I'm
that...
saying effects because it sounds like
Sure.
it was intentionally made.
It's interesting. I will mention, and I'm sure, and if I had to guess, it's because they have a deep connection, Ryuko and Junko. But it does seem like she interacts with Junko, and all of a sudden her memory starts to get better. It definitely feels. I feel like that's the connection here, because based on the things that we're tying together, I think she's deeply tied to Junko and to despair, and I think that's a core element in her memory returning a little bit by bit here, or at least her short-term memory is definitely getting better, even if she's not remembering anything from her past.
Yeah.
Really,
we might get to the point now to where Matsuda and Junko are the only things she remembers.
That would be something.
Because of this effect, especially on Matsuda, like, yeah. We slowly start getting individual people that start slowly creeping back to her.
I'm so curious. I need to know. I need to know more. Because that's the thing. Is it like Ryuko and Matsuda were inseparable, and Matsuda was aware that Ryuko was a fucking freak, but still loved her, and Ryuko hooks up with Junko, and Matsuda, because he's such a simp, just became a despair, and then proceeded to get her out the only way he knew how, once he realized it was too fucked.
And likely not with her will, not with her consent.
But that's the thing, right? That's where it gets interesting, though, because again, while he's not as... He's clearly... I'm confident that Ryuko's more of a freak than Matsuda. I feel confident based on what we've seen. However, Matsuda clearly... if he really did do this to her, that's fucked up as hell, regardless of what Ryuko was. And it's, again, he is exhibiting despair qualities himself. If this really is what happened, this is a very fucked up thing to do. And if the story is something like that, he probably knew and probably interacted with Junko. So we know the stories go, you interact with Junko, it usually doesn't end well for you.
What the hell has Junko done before even the game starts?
I know, right? The game.
I mean, we know what...
Before the prequel even started.
I mean, we know what she's done. She's been killing people, but way before fucking Monokuma was in the control pad.
Yeah, as we've seen. But
how is she getting away with this?
There's so much here, though. It's interesting because it feels like we're getting closer to answers, but it is one of those things where it does feel like any semblance of an answer just leads to more questions, but in a good way. Yeah. It's not annoying. It's actually the mystery is evolving, and it's lending itself to various potential ideas and theories, but you can't really pinpoint exactly what the deal is. It's really good stuff.
I was very curious that we've been pretty much with Ryuko, almost the entirety of the session.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
It's just been her POV.
Yep.
And that POV is again starting to get less confusing as she's starting to not forget things more and more now.
We're in a haze, a fog, and it's gradually lifting.
Ironically,
slowly.
it's even outside of Junko, it's she's doing things now.
Yeah.
And that alone just seems to be helping her memory.
And you notice how
chilling with Matsuda.
She's almost never saying her fucking catchphrase at the beginning of this story. It has nothing to do with me. She's almost completely stopped saying that.
It has everything to do with me.
Yeah. But she's not trying to convince herself otherwise. That's the thing. That tendency screams brainwashing. That unironically screams some sort of what do they call that? Not hypnotic trigger, but reinforcement. It's brain reinforcement training. It's she's been trained to convince herself that the world around her has nothing to do with her. Because it would be every time, it would be like she's a fucking like sleeper agent fucking spy, where it's like on cue, it's like, oh, this has nothing to do with me, right? It literally comes across, when you think about it, like fucking she was programmed that way.
Yeah,
which
I agree with that. And
which again screams
again,
Matsuda.
We know somehow, some way, it's possible to create controlled amnesia in this world. So, how much more?
We don't know any of the specifics, and Danganronpa 1 even made a point to not give us any of the specifics. Literally, Monokuma was like, you wouldn't even believe me. Who cares? Just accept it.
What difference would it make now?
Yeah, like they literally made a point to not explain it. So it is very interesting, given now in the next Danganronpa entry, how this, how memory uncertainty and memory loss and memory issues are such a huge part of this story. It's very interesting.
But yeah, that was pretty fucking intense. It feels like now, Ryoko is solidifying herself as kind of the main character in this.
Yeah.
Still have no idea what Junko's actual intention is, but it does seem to be, at the very least, regardless of what
that lines up, and that theory lines up really well,
to do.
Because Junko is saying,
she just wants her memory back.
Essentially get rid of Matsuda out of the picture.
Yeah.
For Ryoko. That lines up perfectly with that theory that, Ryoko
now that we know that
sort of
he's
despair, and
kind of
obviously a
sussing
very
right now.
valuable one, and Matsuda interfered with that.
Yeah.
Good shit.
It's kind of hard to question who's even in the right at this point.
That's the thing. I love, like, the moral ambiguity of this. Because, like, that's the thing. If that is the scenario, that Ryoko was this awful person, but Matsuda still loved her anyways, and did this to save her, and, I mean, it's weird. It's kind of a double, because, like, yeah, he probably did it mainly to save her, but potentially to save a lot more people. Because Ryoko, if she was really like that, and with Junko, that, like I said, obviously, that combination is not good for anyone.
Oh, no.
So yeah, I'm sure his main motivation was to save her, because I do believe he's legitimately, hopelessly in love with her, and trying his best, or not always his best, to hide it, but that does seem to be, like, that's like the kind of the irony, right? Like, that almost feels like a part of the twist, is that in a weird way, he's almost, it's starting to look like he's actually the real yandere of the relationship.
That is something I would love to see.
Oh, it's really clever. It
Yandere
does seem that
Matsuna.
way, though.
And by that point, she's almost creeped out by it, because those tendencies have left her.
So yeah, by the end, she'll be in love with someone else. Someone much more...
Junko Enoshima.
Someone more regal, perhaps more divine.
Kirigiri?
I mean...
Kyoko
fair?
Kirigiri?
Yes. I knew which Kirigiri you were talking about.
Well, I hope so.
Unless there's a Kirigiri I don't know about. Some third Kirigiri that's crazy looking. But, yeah, no, that was good stuff. So you want to do one more? I know, like I said, I ended up doing one more. So I don't know if you want to keep pace with that or not.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, because that was really good, so I can't. We'll
definitely catch up to you in the next one.
So yeah, I'll actually check that real quick, because we, let me, for whatever reason, I still don't have it pulled up, but I believe I finished the first volume of the story in the 4th video, so we're probably going to go for the end of the volume. That might actually work out, though, because I don't need to check, like, the lengths of these. Let's see. Yeah, the next one was pretty on the shorter side. In fact, yeah, actually the shortest episode I did was episode 4. So that'll probably work out to stop here. It's probably better. So yeah, because we'll 16 is where the volume stops. So we'll have Another 5 chapters, as it turns out, just like this one to do, 12 through 16. But yeah,
nice.
I mean, when it comes down to it, we're a third of the way in terms of actual content. We're a third of the way through. If we go on my video pace, we're a little further in terms of sessions. Because we have 3 down, 5 to go if we stay on my pace, which probably will be close enough. It'll probably end up being the same amount of videos, I'd imagine.
Either that or a little less, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, no, those last 2 chapters were really good. Like, the Junko stuff in Chapter 10 was really good. I actually think, as much as I adore Junko and every appearance is just so peak, I actually think the Ryoko Matsuda Chapter 11 that we just finished was actually even better. That was really, really interesting stuff.
Hell yeah.
And we're starting to piece together a fuzzy picture of some of what might be the deal with these 2 potatoes. It's a very interesting picture, whatever it's gonna.
A lot of different ways you could go about that.
Yep. But there's definitely a lot going on here, and I can't.
Oh
wait.
yeah.
Oh man. There's certain parts though. I will say there's certain things. It's like this is one of those things where by the end of this story, it's so interesting reading this twice because there's so many things.
In hindsight,
yeah, this one's
ultimate.
Crazy. I feel like of all the stories I've experienced, this one is near the top of the list in terms of like Jesus Christ. They really were like, it's crazy reading this a second time. But I can't talk about why until literally the end.
Well,
because that's going to come up at the
fun.
very end. But yeah, we're getting close-ish. I mean, we're not even halfway yet. We'll get to halfway next time, but
I would hope so.
But it's getting spicy though. Like it's definitely, like I said, everything after the chase scene. The chase scene was cool, but the stuff after the chase scene in this episode was really fucking interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Rip our boy. Not that he was ever our boy.
Poor
he didn't last
Madurai.
Long enough. Bro was just the Leon of this series.
Yeah, bro. That means Madurai. We can check him off the list of ever making an appearance in any Danganronpa thing.
I'm surprised they gave him a design at all.
Yeah. Huh.
But hey.
Wanted to draw him. Yeah. Because that's the thing.
Effort.
We don't know how this is going to end. Like, that's the interesting thing. Because we know that, like, the Hope's Peak has a bad ending. But we don't know, like, in terms of, like, Ryoko and Matsuda especially, it's like, what are their endings going to look like? Like, are they going to die? Are they going to be in a place where they could be? Because, like I said, we've floated the idea that, like, are we setting up the villain for Danganronpa 2 in this story? Like, there's so many ways this could go.
I don't know if Junko would leave such loose ends like that, but possibly.
Yeah, but well, that's the thing. It's like, Matsuda, I'd be more worried for his fate, but I don't know what's to come of Ryoko. I mean, if our theories about Ryoko more or less are accurate, I don't know. It's hard to imagine what her ending is in this game. Not the end game for her character in this story.
As always, to remember, first and foremost, Danganronpa is a series that's willing to kill everyone and everyone.
Oh yeah.
At some point.
Yeah, I mean like I said, if they're original character to this, they're in trouble.
Yeah, the only one we kind of know that isn't like in danger is Kirigiri, because we saw how he died at the start of the first game.
I guess technically they could still show it, like that could be a thing near the end, but probably not.
That'd be so funny. We literally, our final scene is just the opening of Danganronpa.
That would be crazy if we got that far. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere near that far into the timeline.
Probably
but
not.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
It's like an epilogue. An epilogue of like Junko right before she starts the killing game.
Oh my
That'd
god.
be great.
Just making the final, like, preps on Monokuma.
That would be fun.
Turning him on for the first time.
Yeah, chatting to Jin right before she kills him.
Yeah.
That'd be great. But yeah, it's interesting because, like, yeah, obviously Junko and Mukuro, of course, we know are safe as well. What's so crazy is we legitimately, like, we don't even know if Mukuro's appeared in this fucking story or not.
They do not want that girl to be a character.
I need it. I need Mukuro, just Mukuro. Because that's a thing. Like, this is the original school. So, like, she, most of the time, now, she's very possibly, I wouldn't be surprised if she's doing twin magic with Junko and she's doing some wild shit here with Ryoko, but she's spending most of her time in the school as herself. We know that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it would be cool to actually just see, like, Mukuro at some point.
That would be nice. See what her character's actually like.
And hopefully for more than a cameo. But I definitely... I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, some of that stuff might be for later. Because, again, we're still very much in the mystery stage. And I wouldn't be surprised if towards the later part of the story, after we get some more big reveals, that it might kind of lend itself to stuff like Mukuro being involved and maybe getting to see a little bit of what she's like and beyond the little tidbits we got and all that good stuff. But we'll have to see. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yes, my man.
Yeah, but I think that's just about it, unless you have anything else you want to bring up.
No, not really. I think we did pretty good right there. And obviously, things are starting to come together now.
Just a little bit. There's a lot. There's a lot still to piece together.
A lot still to go.
There's ideas. At the very least, ideas are formulating as to how some of this could potentially come together.
Yes, that is very true.
Yep.
So, guys, that's going to do it for part 3 of this installment of Danganronpa Trigger Happy Nothing.
Yes.
0.
It is 0.
The triggers have not been fired yet.
Nope.
Hope you guys have enjoyed, and we shall see you next time.